got a sports car, so I can be okay.
There we go.
And then 5 years ago, I got interested in cannabis.
Okay. What sparked your interest in cannabis? Was it more of a medical viability, or was it more of an economic reason and just honestly thinking of something new, something different? You've done all of these things, and it kind of has still stayed within the same avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just the spark and the challenge of something new?
Not really.
Okay.
I made a promise to somebody, a vow, to one of those guys who went to war in Vietnam.
Okay.
And John came back as a Marine hero. And young men heal from bullet wounds, but he never healed from PTSD. And I helped care for him through his life. And he was always appreciative that my drug methadone was helping his buddies who'd become heroin addicts, but he had PTSD, so he didn't need methadone. And he said, why don't you make a drug for me? And his whole life was messed up. He could never hold a job, he lost his wonderful girlfriend, never married, and his life was a mess. And I used to go over and see when he drank or got pills from the VA, he was a mess. But when he was able to get marijuana and smoke, he was chill. He was okay. He was able to function. So I told him through all his life, he had his drug. It's marijuana, but it's illegal, and I'm not that kind of lawyer to make that legal. So he made me promise, vow, that I would make a medicine that would allow all these military heroes and cops and firemen and EMT and everyone with PTSD to get treated. I know that cannabis can do it. So that's what got me into this, was I promised a guy, an ex-Marine. And that's what I'm doing. So I can tell you all about the rest of that and how that came about.
Honestly, I mean, so it started with a promise, and then your first steps, because you had the FDA know-how, you knew exactly where to start. For some people that aren't too sure about that knowledge, or where would you go, where would you direct them to get it? It depends on what state you're in, of course, but...
Well, the easiest way is call me. I'll tell you. I'm happy to help. I really am. I have built a fabulous career and a great life out of offering to help people in lots of ways. I firmly believe every person has the ability to do something remarkable. And at my first TED Talk, the theme was, what if you could solve a problem for one person, and then solve it for 10, and then solve it for 100? When you can solve it for 1,000, you probably have a business.
Right.
And you for sure have a mission. So my particular method was that I figured out what in cannabis would relieve PTSD. And since that's pain and anxiety, that meant I now had a way to relieve pain and anxiety.
Right.
And then all the rest was getting the license, opening the business, figuring out how to make the formulations, running clinical trials, all of the stuff that I know how to do.
Right.
I don't know that there is anyone else who has that science and law and practical business savvy, plus the money to be able to do it, but many people have other talents, and I hope to inspire them, because I did it my way.
Right, right.
You do it your way.
That's very true. I like that. I mean, everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own makeup. Everyone has their own environment that brought them to where they are now. And for you, it seems like there were no excuses. It seems like you had a bunch of obstacles, but you chose to say, yeah, I'm still going to do it like this. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to want to do it this way. I'm still going to try my way and go on my time and my development and all of that. And that's amazing. To me, that's amazing because not enough people trust their inner self.
That's right. They don't. You have to. You have to. I began practicing Buddhism 45 years ago because it taught me not to keep blaming everything in my environment. I lived in New York. I worked in the morgue. Ah, God, I smelled bad all the time. I had a bad apartment. I had lots of bad things in my environment. But when I began to change my life from the inside, my environment changed. Oh my God, now there's no reason to go on complaining about the job, or my hair, or my lack of hair, or whatever, or anything. That is, I had this better reason for doing something. And I happen to have some talent at making chemicals into a drug. So I employed it in that way. Turned out to work. There were 1,000 problems, but if you keep your eye on the prize, really keep your eye on the prize, then your environment will give you lots of obstacles, and each one is this great challenge. Oh, how do I get the money? How do I get the help? How do I find a building? How do I find the right chemicals? Where are the patients? All of that is just great, and you meet such interesting people along the way. The journey is just fabulous.
And not being afraid of that journey. Like that's the biggest thing. Leaping and jumping out and saying, I'm ready to take these risks and fail 1,000 times over and over until that last formula is the right one.
Yeah, I learned it. I was lucky to learn it early because I played on a pickup baseball team, and my batting average was 200, which was not good. And I chanted for it to be better, and it got up to 300 because my mind and body came together. But I still had a 300 batting average, which meant 7 times out of 10 I was not getting on base. That's okay in life, but 7 times failing out of 10 will really discourage people. However, a batting average of 300 is really a good deal. And so, for many people, you just have to show up again. Get up to bat, because that pitcher wants to throw that ball at you.
Nice, nice. When it comes to pure green, how many do you think you guys, did you encounter a lot of setbacks? Was that kind of like just swinging the bat over and over until you got it right?
Yes, it was, except that I've done this a couple hundred times.
Right.
Setting up companies, getting them approved at FDA, at states, and in countries around the world. So, but that's just like a guy who's going to play baseball. You know that there's 9 innings, and you're going to be in another town somewhere tomorrow. Still, in that moment, there were tremendous amounts of difficulties. Michigan's regulatory structure, as they implemented the law, was very difficult, close up and personal. Although it turns out that Michigan regulations are some of the best of all the states, and it's like no